heard about this, the small of human interest story that the news was talking about last night. There was an election. They call it the midterm election. You heard about it. Results, which I'm sure Democrats took the House as expected. Republicans kept the few seats, sort of not expected on that. And Democrats 28 seats in the House, made no gains in the Senate, as opposed to, say, the 2010 midterm elections, when obviously Obama was the president, and Republicans gained 63 seats in the House, 5 or 6 in the Senate. So that's what this is not a blue wave, as was advertised, and as we were promised. Not a blue wave, not a bloodbath. It wasn't a red wave either. It wasn't a bloodbath in the other direction. Now the spin doctors are going to go to work and spin it one way or another, as they already have been doing, obviously. But there weren't any waves. There were some ripples going in either direction, which is not what we were told. Instead, I think the Democrats did basically what they had to do, what they were going to do. Given the way that the map was drawn up this time around, there really wasn't much chance or possibility that Democrats would fail to gain the House. So that was going to happen. It was inevitable. The question was whether it would be a trouncing and whether they could seize control of the Senate at the same time. And the answer to that was no on both counts. That's kind of incredible when you think about it, because as most people know, the midterms are historically unkind to the party in power. And then when you add on top of that the unique factors that Trump brings to the table, being a uniquely divisive president in that a lot of people love him, a lot of people really hate him. He's also unpopular, approval in the mid-40s. Whether you like him or not, there's no way around that fact. So that's something that Democrats should have been able to exploit, but they weren't able to. They exploited it to some extent, but not to a very large extent. So you have to evaluate their victory in the House. I think you have to evaluate it within the context of what was expected and what the sort of bare minimum was for them. And in that context, I don't think certainly was not a huge tsunami in their favor, as was predicted. I think maybe they got a few steps above bare minimum. Though again, we can't call it a big win for Republicans either. But I think when you consider the Democrats and the advantages that they had or should have had going into this, and the fact that they, were only able to pick up some seats in the House and actually lost in the Senate, and then also several of their kind of up-and-coming rock stars, supposedly, that they put millions of dollars into, and they brought celebrities down to campaign for these people in Florida and Texas and Georgia, and all of those lost too. They're up-and-coming rock stars lost, many of them. So when you consider that, it seems clear to me that there is still an obstacle in the way for Democrats. That even though, now of course, the rabid Trump haters, the really loyal Democrats, they're going to get those people. But it seems like there are plenty of people who don't really like Trump, aren't necessarily big fans of the Republican Party, yet are hesitant about supporting Democrats. And why is that? I think that there are many reasons for this, but let me point to a few. Number one, the hatred for white men that you see on the left. I do, in fact, think that this is a problem for the Democrats, because there are around 100 million white males in America, and they don't especially like being constantly cast as the villain. And this liberal use of white man as a pejorative has the, I would think, not very surprising effect of alienating white men who aren't huge fans of having their identity reduced. And to compound the problem on top of that, plenty of non-whites and non-men actually don't hate white men nearly as much as Democrats seem to think and want and expect. And this may shock them to learn, but actually a significant number of women love men and appreciate men. So resentment towards, open resentment and contempt for 100 million Americans is, let's say, distasteful. to most of those 100 million and to a good portion of the other 225 million. So I think that's a problem for Democrats. And a second problem, nobody cares about celebrity endorsements. Okay, I think Democrats rely way too much on celebrities and on the clout of celebrity to get the results that they want. You know, you had Oprah campaigning for Stacey Abrams in Georgia. And then she lost. You had Taylor Swift, to much fanfare, came out and supported the opponent of Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee. He lost. There are many left-wing celebrities who came out in favor of O'Rourke, and he lost, and then many more who were, trying to mobilize voters to manufacture this big blue wave, which did not materialize. So I think it turns out that in fact, people don't really care that much what Oprah or Taylor Swift or George Clooney thinks. Most people are saying to themselves, or I should say, most people are not going to say to themselves, I really like Marsha Blackburn's policies, but then again, I also really like that song, Shake It Off. So I think I'll vote for the other guy. Most people aren't doing that. So Democrats have massively overrated the ability of famous people to move the needle. And I think actually there's plenty of reason to believe that the needle might be moved in the opposite direction. And then the third thing, and this is really big, especially in this particular election, and I think this, more than anything else, explains why the Democrats not only didn't gain control of the Senate, but actually lost seats in the Senate. I think the number one reason for that, for sure, is Kavanaugh, which was, the Democrat treatment of, and I said this going into I said that this week, I said that this is going to be a big problem for the Democrats, and I think I was right about that. The Democrat treatment of Brett Kavanaugh was not only one of the most vile smear campaigns in modern American history, but I still think, and I think clearly this has been vindicated, this perspective, that it was also one of the greatest political blunders in modern American history. Because it turns out that a lot of people do not really like to see somebody dragged through the mud and destroyed vindictively, maliciously, on unsubstantiated allegations and innuendo. Most people do not actually delight, as Democrats seem to do, in the personal destruction of innocent men. And I think on top of that,